Hello everyone, in this video I will make conclusions about the year of 2022. As you know, now I live in Georgia, but I started that year in Russia and then many events happened, and now I would like to discuss it with you, what I felt throughout all these months. If you're interested, continue watching this video. Let's go. In fact, I already made such a video 1 year ago about the conclusion of the previous year. In that video, I was talking about how unusual it is for me to be a YouTuber. Like, wow, now I can buy good food, I can buy coffee, I can live a good life, rent an apartment, even in Moscow and so on. And it was all very new for me. In addition to it, I felt a lot of fear because of repressions that already happened in Russia last year, and I mean all the 20 years Putin's storm.
You can go to jail for making a video about a protest, for just standing with a poster, for posting body positive pictures online. If somebody wants to put me to jail, they can make up any reason. They don't even need a reason.
Also, in the beginning of that year, I felt scared for the money that I earned from YouTube. It seems that the government will take your money. Well, technically it happened 1 month later, but a little later about that. So I was scared that what if some FSB agent or police finds something dangerous in my words, in my videos, and they will arrest me and I will have to pay out a big fine, or maybe that I will have to hire a lawyer. They will freeze my bank accounts like they did to Navalny and all that. Yeah, I know I'm not that important, but still that constant paranoia.
Whether I want to move, of course I want, because I have no hope. I think it will worsen with every year. Now I'm like wearing pink glasses because I can buy good food, I can drink this coffee and feel that, wow, everything is fine. But then I remember myself that in 3 years it can be very bad, and my biggest fear now is that I will close up here before I find a way to escape from here.
I mean, that video aged well. Given what happened just 1 month later, now I understand that I was totally right. I was not paranoid, it just was common sense. And I could not feel safe in that country. So I started the year normally, I even traveled, I met some new friends, but on February 24th everything changed. Putin started the war with Ukraine. Now I will share what I felt when the war started. And you know, I lived in the Far East, in Khabarovsk, and remote areas are generally less politically active in Russia. But you know, even in Khabarovsk we had political activeness, especially in 2020. I also made a video about that protest. But of course, Putin's police, Putin's dogs did everything to demotivate people to protest. But yeah, I went to the streets of Khabarovsk and it seemed to me that everybody is so indifferent to the news, and I felt angry at them. Of course, maybe I was wrong and maybe that people also were shocked by what was happening, but it seemed to me that I am alone, that nobody else besides me in this city is worried about these horrible events. And the Russian propaganda machine, of course, started brainwash people even more. And on the TV channels that are all controlled by the government, they had these political talking shows where they called Ukrainian Nazis, where they explained the invasion by denazification and demilitarization of Ukraine, whatever it means. That was just really disgusting to see, and of course there were a lot of protests in the large cities of Russia, so thousands of people were detained, arrested, they got fines, but well, fine is just nothing compared to a bigger punishment that the Russian government later created, because just when the war started there was a window of maybe 5 days when you could voice your opinion online, but then the Russian State Duma created some new laws, the law against discreditation of the Russian army, and another is the law against spreading fakes. So it means that if you say something about the true event that are happening in Ukraine, it is considered fake, and the prison sentences are up to 15 years. And that what made many people even more scared. And those who already managed to write a post online about the war or be really active at the protest, these people had to run from Russia. But some other people, they stayed in Russia and they were prosecuted. For example, there's a famous case of Sasha Skolichenko. She decided to replace price tags in a store with information about the war atrocities of the Russian army. She was arrested and she has some health problems, but of course the Russian prison system doesn't care about people. Another case was with the deputy Alexei Gorinov. When there was another meeting of the deputies, he said how we can discuss children drawing contests now if children in Ukraine are dying. And for these words he also was arrested, and now he is in jail for approximately 8 years. And there are many cases like this, it's not just one. Another thing that really outraged me was the street banners with the Z letter, you know, symbol of their special military operation. It was disgusting to see it on the buses, on historical buildings, everywhere, in every city. And I remember that when I saw that sticker on a bus in Khabarovsk, I felt so angry. I went up to the bus. I started to scratch this sticker off the bus, but anyway, the bus just left and that's it. But I remember that another time when I did that in another bus stop, the driver ran out and started screaming at me, but he just went to the bus and the bus left. And I was also scared. What if this bus stop have cameras and they would track me? But anyway, nothing happened to me. And I want to correct myself because I say that people around me were indifferent and didn't care, but I really don't know what was in their mind. Maybe they also didn't like that sticker, but I never know because they don't have a platform to voice their opinion. And now I want to show you the clip featuring Russian military equipment, tanks, and listen to this music. I don't really believe that this video can make some people more patriotic or more proud. Apparently such people exist, but for me it's just footage of bombs killing people with some action music. It's like a TikTok video. But no, it was aired on the Russian television, and it's really unprofessional to put military footage with music from some Hollywood blockbuster. I don't know, probably all the smart video editors left Russia and only the worst ones stayed and made videos for Kremlin. Well, basically this phrase wraps up everything about the Russian political figures. Putin keeps only the most loyal people, not the smartest, not the most competent, but the worst and the most stupid people. And in addition to protests, there were also street artworks. The most popular was "Нет войне." This slogan means no to war, and it was written in many cities of Russia. And I decided to paint the same. So I bought spray paint and I went out at night and I painted one on like a fence and another on the shop. So in the morning I checked that inscription, it was there, but 3 hours later I returned to that place and there were nothing. And I felt so hopeless because yeah, I can return there another night, but they will cover it again. And what if they this time will track me with the street cameras and so on? You might say, but yeah, it was just some municipal workers who wanted to clear it up because it is vandalism. But no, because I have one more example of graffiti, but this time it was a pro-war graffiti. It was some slur phrase, beat Ukrainians, and it was written in the very center of Khabarovsk. And about this inscription, nobody cared. So I took my paint again. I went there to cover it, but the next day my paint was covered with another words by that people. You just feel that whatever you're trying to do, it's all doesn't have any results. So this is how I spent a couple of months in the constant anxiety, paranoia, cringing at the Z people. But probably after 2 months, I became calmer because I actually started to write my thesis for my diploma. It was a good thing just to escape from the reality. And by June, I managed to write it and I graduated my university. Not to say that it was a big achievement, not at all, because my university is basically a sharaga, like all the other universities in Russia, and I don't value that education at all, but I will make a video about this later. But anyway, I got that diploma that I'm a bachelor in linguistics, whatever it means. And actually, when the war started in February, I really wanted to leave Russia as soon as possible, but my university was the thing that kept me there, and I decided that I will finish it and then I will leave. But I was paranoid because I thought, what if the Russian government was going to close the borders, or what if they still will catch me for something said vaguely in my videos. And remember, in the beginning of 2021, I was scared for my money. What if I lose them somehow? But I said to myself that no, it's not gonna happen. It's okay, you pay taxes. It's all legal. But this is not how it works in an authoritarian regime, and really in the beginning of 2022, I really lost my money. I mean, I received them in dollars, but I could not withdraw them anymore in dollars. So I had to transfer them to rubles, then again to dollars, and I think I lost some of these amounts. But I mean, I'm happy that I managed to save them anyway, and also I managed to take them all from Russia now to other places. And it's interesting that in the summer my anxieties about going to jail in Russia have decreased a little, but I got a new one. So in June, when I was really busy with my diploma, I was sleeping not properly, I got really many anxiety thoughts, but not about the political situation, but about my future, because I was graduating with a completely hopeless degree from a bootleg university in a terroristic country, and I felt that I don't know what I will be doing in the future in terms of career, what I will do later, like when I will not have this YouTube vlog. Maybe I should study abroad, but I don't know what major I want to choose, what country, and all these thoughts, they were just pushing me. So I went to psychologist. I started to take antidepressants, not because I have a depression, I don't have it, but because of anxiety. This is that kind of pills that are antidepressants but help you with anxiety. And I became so relaxed. I don't know, was it because of the pills, or was it because of the fact that I finally finished my university? I don't know, maybe both. And I think that in the summer I got too comfortable, and instead of leaving Russia as I wanted just after finishing my university, I decided to stay for 2 more months. So in the summer I went to Vladivostok with my friend Alina. We also traveled to Moscow, to St. Petersburg, but on September the 10th, as I planned, I finally left Russia and went to Georgia. And I guess a new chapter began. As a proud holder of this red thing that states that I'm a citizen of a country that is making terroristic actions, I cannot really visit most of the countries in the world, so I don't have many choices. And actually in the spring I was choosing between Turkey and Georgia. I chose Georgia because, I heard stories of my friend Doris Stepp from Turkey, and I decided that I don't want to go there, and also Georgia is easier for me. There are many Russian activists who organize rallies and different events, and many people in Georgia speak Russian, but also, especially the younger generation, speaks English, and we Russians can stay here up to 1 year without a visa. It is really helpful. Georgia is a great country, but I would like to share some disadvantages for me as a Russian here. You know, Russia and Georgia are also in very difficult diplomatic relationships, because in 2008 there was a war between Russia and Georgia, and now Russia is occupying a part of Georgia territory and has military bases there, and there are graffitis on the streets like "fuck Russians," "Russians go home," And I once went to a Facebook group and there was one ad saying that I rent an apartment, but I will not rent it to Russian pigs. And I wrote a big comment, like explained my situation, that I left Russia, I'm against the war. I always try to do anything to like go to protests and so on, and why here I am called pig just because of my red passport. And I got a lot of really stupid arguments like where you have been in 2008, and I'm like, I was 9 years old. But at the same time I received many warm messages from Georgian people, and they explained me the political situation here, something that I didn't know about. And well, I realized that it's not normal, of course. We should not encourage writing hateful graffiti, but this is inevitable in any society, and I decided that I will not worry about this. During this year, I've been thinking a lot about very high moral things like what is guilt and what is responsibility. So for myself, I decided that I will bear my responsibility as a person born on a territory where people receive such kind of passports, and I will do everything that I can, like go to protests, vocalize my position, help people, and so on. But I also want to tell about some things that were really tiresome this year, such as explaining people that it's not that easy to just go out and overthrow an authoritarian regime. I get this thought, yes, we should fight for our freedom, we should fight with such regimes. But I think that people who write this, they don't really understand what it's like to live in such a country with society that has been depoliticized for the last 20 years, and where like 30% of people have toilet outside of their house. They live in total poverty, so that the only thought that they have daily is just how to get food. Another thing is when people message me, why you left Russia, you should stay there and fight the regime. And here I have just a spectrum of thoughts, because, well, first, I always wanted to leave Russia, probably since my teenage years. So why, when I finally graduated my university and decided to go, well, not where I wanted by to leave Russia, some Bob from his basement tells me that I have to change the regime. And in fact, I tried to change the regime. Yeah, I tried to go to protests and do some little deeds that I could. And many people think that if we active Russians now stay in Russia, we can somehow organize and change the regime. No, the thing about the Russian regime is that it will destroy within itself. I mean, it's the elites who can overthrow it. I don't know if they will kill Putin or arrest him somehow, but as long as Putin feeds his policemen, his FSB agents and so on, it is just impossible to organize a huge protest in Russia, because people are depoliticized, they are scared. Also, I have to say that many of them are just horrible and they are brainwashed and they want more blood and they totally deserve what they are getting. But please remember that there are many Russians who try to do something but they just failed to do it. So my position is that if a person needs to leave Russia, they should do it, because everybody is doing something on their place. Russian communities here in Georgia are doing their actions. Russian people in Russia, there are still many people who stay there. There are people who explode voenkomat, the military offices, or explode railroads, support political prisoners, give food and letters to them. It's all really important. I just want to say that everybody is helping what they can and where they can. And another thing that makes me pissed off is YouTubers in Russia who make videos for foreign audience showing the full stocked shelves in supermarkets and writing thumbnails like sanctions really, or your sanctions don't work. And it's just so ridiculous, because this is not how sanctions work. Of course, the marketing people from the supermarkets know that empty shelves will scare people off. That's why they stock them properly. They buy all these products, if not from Europe, but from Belarus and Kazakhstan. But sanctions are about planes not having engines or cars not having details, people being unable to buy medicine for themselves or for their pets, the Russian economy is going to be worse and worse. And it's just funny how these people don't realize it. And also I noticed that some of people who make such videos, they are actually Z. And well, I guess again, they will get what they deserve. I think I have something like a trauma because of the country where I lived before. Some people will understand me now. When you are raised in an abusive household and when you grow up and become independent, you look back at your backgrounds and understand how unfairly you was treated, and you feel sorry for your little self, and you really want to go back and maybe hug yourself or something. And I actually experienced these thoughts, but probably 2 years ago, because I managed to somehow accept my past, accept the shitty situation in my family. But now I have it even on a bigger scale. And now I look back at my life in Russia and feel sorry for myself being treated unfairly in Russia. Like in these post-Soviet societies, human life and personality is just not valued. You're treated everywhere as shit. At school, at university, at hospitals, and so on. I'm so sorry for myself that sometimes in the past I thought that it's normal, that I deserve such an attitude. I'm glad that now I became more confident. I know my worth, and I will not let that past define who I am now. But speaking of the conclusions of this year, I'm really glad that I managed to kind of cure my anxiety about my future. You remember I said in June I got really paranoid and anxious, but the pills helped and I actually stopped taking them maybe 2 weeks ago. I also did therapy with an online therapist, and I don't know, I feel so confident now, even though I don't know about my career in the future, but who does? I at least now have my YouTube channel, which gives me good income, and I can afford life and traveling, and I think that in the future I will make something up. I will always find ways. I will not end up sleeping under the fence with no food and roof over my head. So it's fine. I'm really glad that I managed to fight this anxiety, but now I'm still fighting with the new anxiety of just constantly ruminating about my, call it Russia trauma of living in a post-Soviet country. So this year I will stay in Georgia. I'm not really ready to go somewhere else. I'm really comfortable here in Georgia. I maybe will travel to the countries where I am able to travel to. I will develop my channel. Actually, in the beginning of the last year in that video, I said that I'm really inspired for the new year. I want to make more videos and be the best. I mean, in terms of YouTube, have more subscribers, more videos. But now I will not make such wishes. Well, I know that I will have more subscribers and more good videos this year. So I hope that you're also really excited about this. Also, I'm incredibly grateful to you for supporting me this year, because when the war started, I in fact received a lot of messages and comments like, Natasha, we know that you are not your government. This support is really helpful. Yes, we YouTubers, big YouTubers, tend to get used to a lot of supportive messages, but this was really important for me anyway. And thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon, for just being active on my channel, because even writing a comment and putting like to a video helps to promote this video so that more people see it, and it also helps my channel. So thank you very much for being with me this year. I'm being realistic but really optimistic in the beginning of this new year 2023. I hope that you are starting this year in a very high spirits. I wish you all the best in the new year. And my pigeon, who you really liked, also says thank you. And by the way, people ask me what name should I choose for him. Actually, it's not him. I thought, I don't know, maybe it should be a girl or a non-binary pigeon. I don't know what name to choose. Let's decide it together in the comments. And if you like some variant, you can just put like to it, and the most liked comment will get the name of the pigeon. But yeah, thank you so much. Goodbye. Пока-пока.